Good afternoon, guys. It's Workin bringing you a quick update on Bitcoin. Hope you guys are having a wonderful afternoon. We're looking at Bitcoin to the US dollar. This is the 4-hour chart on Coinbase. And last time we spoke, guys, Bitcoin had rallied slightly, just broken above this zone here. I believe last time we talked, they're just broken above this 3,400. I told you guys that unless we were to continue up, we obviously had this little wedge here. I told you guys unless we were going to continue up, this wasn't a very solid break at all. We were getting, as I said, getting no indication of continuing to rise. In fact, we were getting the opposite. We had very, very low volume, guys. It was a very weak rally here, as I told you guys. And of course, shortly after that, price did end up breaking back down into our 3,400 to 3,250 zone. I told you guys if it broke back down into that zone again, as soon as 3,200, or excuse me, as soon as it broke below 3,400, and then 3,400 came back for a retest and acted as resistance, that was going to be a very, that would be your sign to either go short or very likely we were going to come back down and at least retest this 3,250. That's exactly what happened. Price broke down. We had this little wedge here where we could see we were creating a series of lower highs, higher lows. Anytime you see that, guys, you know it's just a matter of time before we're going to get a larger move in one direction or another. All signs were pointing to down, as I told you guys, and of course that's exactly what happened. Price did end up breaking down. This 3,250 acted as a beautiful support for about 12 hours or so, and now we've just recently broken down, decisively broken down. As I always tell you guys, you want to wait for that decisive break. We have now had that decisive break below 3,250, and in my opinion, guys, and as I've been telling you, as soon as we break below 3,250, there's a very good chance we're coming down to 3,000, and I still do believe that's the case, guys. Now that we've broken below 3,250, I think there's a very good chance we're coming down to 3,000. Now, there's one caveat to that. Pardon me. If you come over here and we look at long positions, guys, we are seeing that longs are starting to stack, and they have been, for some time. We had this nice little spike here on December the 11th, and it just kind of moved sideways, a little bit of a spike here, then a little bit of a drop off, and now we've had this continuation to the upside here over the last 24 hours or so, which is very interesting, especially over the last hour. We had this very nice little spike right here over just in the last hour since price did end up breaking down, which is very interesting because we know that the retail investors that are in this market are not stupid, and we know that because look at the volume. We're sitting at 4.4 billion. That's extremely low volume, guys, and we know that the guppies have pretty much been sucked out of this market. So the only people that are left are people that have either learned their lesson or very very astute traders for the most part. There's always going to be some guppies in there, guys. There's no question about that. But this is more of this long move is very, very interesting, guys. I think what a lot of people are banking on here is, I think if we come over here and I look at our moving averages, and I want to pull out here to the weekly chart. Looking at the weekly chart here, guys, this is our exponential moving averages and moving averages. Obviously, we can see we've been down below this, broken below this weekly Bollinger Band here, but that's not what I'm interested in. I'm interested in this 200-day moving average on the weekly chart, and we are just now testing that 200-day moving average, and I think a lot of people are expecting that bounce right there at that 200-day moving average. Now, I haven't talked about it a whole lot, guys, because I'm not, I didn't think this was a big of a deal as a lot of people are making it out to be. That being said, really, trading is just a matter of, it's a complete mental game, guys. And so if the majority of traders believe this to be a good point and start entering into a position, that could in fact spark a rally. So we're really watching this closely, but as of now, you can see we're literally sitting right on top of that 200-day moving average on the weekly chart, and we're getting no major reaction at all. Really not at all. Now, it doesn't mean that can't come in, guys, but it's very, at the moment, very lackluster, and just really no major reaction. So if I just look at this all together, it seems to me that a lot of people are probably hedging their bets, expecting that major bounce off that 200-day on the weekly chart, 200-day moving average on the weekly chart, but we're not seeing it as of yet. Again, doesn't mean that can't happen, just means that's really going to be the last stand here. If that 200-day moving average ends up breaking down, we are basically going to, in my opinion, we are going to come down to this $3,000 mark. Now, again, nothing is a guarantee. This This is just, I think, probability-wise, that at least 3,000 is going to be a good mark. And I have not entered into I did not play that 200-day moving average on the weekly chart. Again, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. Doesn't mean it can't be. It certainly can. But my orders are stacked between 3,000 and really 2620 with the stop loss at 2,500. But really, 2,500 is a decent support as well. If 2,500 does break down, as I told you guys in the past, I do. In fact, I'll just show you guys again. Let's zoom out here and look at the larger time frames. In fact, I'll just zoom out here to the monthly chart for those of you that had missed these larger time frame analysis here. We can see that there is decent support between 3,000 and 2,500, as I've showed you guys here in the past. We can see that's right here. And I told you guys that very likely this is a very logical bottom, and I still believe this is a very logical bottom. So my buy orders are stacked between this 3,000 and really 2,600. Could be, but you could stack them as low as 2,500. That would be a logical place. But if 2,500 does break down, guys, as I've showed you guys in the past, this area right here between 11 and 1,200 becomes a very real possibility, and I do believe there is a lot of support right here. This is a hard support in my opinion. I do believe this would be I'd be shocked if price dropped below 1,100. I do believe this is a very hard bottom. Again, doesn't mean there's nothing as a guarantee in trading, but this is where I'd be going in very, very heavy with 95% of the money that I have set aside to buy Bitcoin. I will buy if we ever see an $1,200 Bitcoin. But that being said, we still have a very strong support to get through, which we may never. And again, that's between 3,000 and 2,500. So we're going to be watching this zone very, very closely. I do believe now a $3,000 Bitcoin is becoming more the probability instead of just a possibility. And we're going to be watching this very closely, guys. This is where, again, not financial advice, but this is where my buy orders are stacked between 3,000 and 2,500. Now, for those of you that watched my last update, this breakdown in price was not at all a surprise. I've been telling you guys everything looks bearish. It looks to me like we're going to be continuing to the downside. And pulling out here to the daily chart, I even showed you guys. Whoop, that's not what I wanted. I even showed you guys last time on the daily chart on the MACD. If we were looking at price from point to point, I pointed this out, guys. Obviously, we were creating a lower high, and coming over here looking at the MACD again on the daily chart. We can see the MACD created a higher high there, and this being in a downtrend, that was hidden bearish divergence. So it was we knew that the probability was price was going to break down. The question was it going to break below this 3250? And of course, now that we have, I think that we are very, very likely, as I said, coming down to 3,000. Now, one of the things that I've been telling you guys to keep an eye on, now I'm trying to get to the weekly here. On the weekly chart, there we go. Looking at the weekly chart, one of the things that I told you guys to keep an eye on here is the weekly RSI. I told you if the weekly RSI gets oversold, this is when you want to start looking and start paying attention and start thinking about entering into a position. We've just entered into that oversold area, and as I told you guys before, it's not just entering that oversold area that I was going to where you want to get very interested. It's jumping down to this 26, 25, 26 or 25 on the weekly RSI. If we get down to 26 or 25, guys, that's going to be an extremely attractive buy, in my opinion, on the weekly RSI. So if the weekly RSI gets oversold to about 26, 25, which more than likely that's going to bring us down to about 3,000 to 2,600. So that's going to be in our buy range anyway. This is going to get become a very, very attractive buy, in my opinion. Now, we're always going to be keeping an eye on, as I always tell you guys, you always want to keep an eye on those longs and short positions. Pardon me. And this is obviously no exception. Looking at shorts are continuing to, shorts are starting to rise here again, just in the last hour or two. We can see shorts have started to rise. And of course, looking at longs are starting to rise as well at a much greater rate though. But that being said, shorts still outpace longs very, very significantly. So we may see a massive stop hunt here. I think that very likely what's looking probable to me is price might break down, hit that $3,000 to $2,500 level, liquidate these long positions, and of course, as that happens, if these short positions start to stack and everyone starts to think it's going to go lower, and if we get that widened gap between longs and short positions, guys, where shorts start to stack and longs get wiped off the board, I think there's a very real chance that we get a massive short squeeze that might turn into a larger bull run. So that's something that you guys want to keep an eye on. Again, I'm not sure if that's going to be the way that it does react, the longs and shorts shorts do react if we get down here to that $3,000 to $2,500 range, but it's something that you guys definitely want to keep an eye on. It's kind of your cheat sheet, if you will, as far as knowing whether or not this thing's going to continue up. If we have longs that are continuing to stack here between 3,000 and 2,500, and that gap, I should say, narrows between longs and shorts, with longs being stacked, at that point, we're probably going to go lower. But I would imagine that if we do drop down here to that $3,000 to $2,500 range, longs are going to get liquidated, shorts are going to stack, and then market makers are going to turn this thing right back around and try to liquidate those short positions by driving price up, and that could lead to a massive short squeeze, which could lead to a massive bull run. And you want to keep an eye on that long to shorts, and you want to keep an eye on volume right here. As I always tell you guys, we need to see volume consistently above 10 billion on a daily basis for us to know that new money is entering into this market. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap things there, guys. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below. As always, would appreciate an upvote if you have enjoyed this content. Till next time, guys, please trade safe, take care of yourselves. This is Workin, signing out.